The rain fell like a curtain from the dark sky. Lightning flashed across the battlefield. Smoke rose from broken machines and scorched trees. The ground was soaked with blood. And in the center of it all, she stood, tall, silent, and deadly. Her name was Kalyra, an elite assassin. Feared across 5 star systems, she wore armor made from blackened alien bone, sharp as blades. Her eyes were glowing silver and her voice was cold as ice. And at her feet lay him, a human male, unarmored chest, burn marks across his skin, sword wound straight through his heart. She had killed him. Again. Kalyra stared down at the body. This was the 10th time. 10 kills. Same man, same face, and every time he came back. This time, she whispered, blade dripping red, stay dead. She turned around, her dark cloak trailing behind her. But then, she heard something. A breath. Her eyes went wide. She turned slowly. The man, Rhys Vale, was breathing. His body twitched. Fingers moved. Then he opened his eyes. Kalyra took a step back. Her heart didn't beat often, but it did now. No, she said softly. You died 10 times by my blade. So tell me, what kind of armor brings the dead back? Rhys gasped, coughing blood, confused. His body ached like fire. He looked up and saw her again. The same assassin, same glowing eyes, same sharp, cruel face. Am I dead? He muttered. No, she said, raising her sword. But you should be. He didn't fight. He didn't even run. I don't understand. Rhys whispered. Why do I wake up again? Kalyra didn't answer. She circled him slowly. She had killed many humans before. None of them returned. None of them healed like this. Her blade was forged from the blood of a sun-bearer. It cut through bone, flesh, and soul. No armor could stop it. And yet, here he was. You remember nothing? She asked sharply. He blinked. No, only the pain, then darkness. Kalyra lowered her sword for a moment. She had orders to kill him, but orders didn't say what to do if he couldn't die. Who sent you here? She asked. Rhys coughed again. I'm a commander. I was sent to negotiate peace with your people. Kalyra laughed once. Cold and cruel. There is no peace, only survival. Far above in orbit, a Terran ship received a strange signal. Rhys's life signature had gone flat. Again. Then, 10 minutes later, it pulsed back on. A medic android turned to the captain. Sir, he's alive again. The captain cursed. Impossible. But it had happened before. 10 times. No explanation. Kalyra dragged Rhys through the mud and into a nearby cave. She had no idea why she didn't just kill him again. Maybe curiosity. Maybe fear. She lit a blue flame from her wrist device and watched him sleep. His chest moved slowly. Wound already closing. This is not human, she whispered to herself. She opened her data pad, scrolled through old mission records. There was a name, a forgotten experiment, a secret human project from over a century ago, Project Revenant. It was cancelled, buried, destroyed. But what if one survived? She looked at Rhys again. Was he one of them? Hours passed. Rhys woke to find her still watching him. He sat up slowly. Are you going to kill me again? Kalyra's silver eyes narrowed. If I did, would it matter? He smiled weakly. Guess not. There was silence. The sound of distant thunder rolled through the cave. Kalyra finally spoke. You are a puzzle, and I don't like puzzles. Rhys shrugged. Neither do I, especially when I am one. She stood and pointed her blade at him again. You better start remembering, human, or the next time I kill you, I'll make sure you don't come back. Rhys looked into her eyes. Maybe I don't want to come back. That answer surprised her. She lowered her blade. He was more than just a soldier. There was sadness behind his eyes, a weight, like he had lived longer than he could bear. Kalyra stepped back. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like an assassin. She felt like a watcher, a witness to something old and dangerous. She turned toward the storm. "Tomorrow," she said, "I will kill you again." And then she was gone. Reese sat alone in the cave, shivering, confused, and afraid. The cave was cold, even after the storm had passed. Drops of water still echoed from the stone ceiling like ticking clocks. Reese Vale sat alone by a fading flame, staring into the fire. He didn't sleep. He couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes, shadows, battlefields, screams. Sometimes they were his own. He touched the scar on his chest. It wasn't there the night before. His skin was smooth, as if the assassin's sword had never touched him. But he remembered dying. He remembered her silver eyes watching as the life left his body. Again. Far away, aboard the Terran ship Kestrel, Commander Lynn stared at Reese's file. 10 confirmed deaths, she whispered. No explanation. No wounds on the body. He just wakes up. A young tech officer spoke up. "Ma'am, we cross-checked his DNA with old classified databases." Lynn raised an eyebrow. "And? There's a 94% match with a black project. Deep level. Project Revenant." Her blood ran cold. That program was deleted during the Red Purge. Every soldier was supposed to be erased. The officer leaned in. "Maybe not all of them." Meanwhile, Kalyra stood on a high cliff, her cloak whipping in the wind. Her mind was not at peace. The kill had failed, again, and yet something inside her hesitated. She was trained never to question orders. But this man, this Reese, was different. He didn't fight like a soldier. He didn't beg like a victim. He simply looked at death, like an old friend. She opened her wrist device. A hologram of a long-forgotten battlefield flickered to life. Earth's last colonial war. She saw it again. The same armor Reese wore. The same look in his eyes. But that war ended 70 years ago. He hadn't aged a day. Back in the cave, Reese left before sunrise. His legs were weak, but he had to move. He didn't know why he kept coming back to life, but something in his body was changing. The memories were growing stronger. He saw flashes of people he didn't know, but somehow remembered. Men and women in dark uniforms, underground labs, needles, screaming, and a voice. "You will rise again, no matter the cost." He shook the thought away. He wandered through the forest and found a crashed Terran drone. Inside was a signal booster. He activated it. Back aboard the Kestrel, an alert rang. "Out, Commander Vale's beacon is online." "Get me a connection," Lynn said. The signal cracked to life. Reese's voice came through, tired and strained. "This is Reese. I'm alive." Again. Lynn leaned in. "Reese, do you remember anything?" He paused, then quietly said, "Project Revenant." The whole room went silent. Later that night, Kalyra returned to the cave, but Reese was gone. She narrowed her eyes, sniffing the air like a predator. Tracks. Blood. Burnt electronics. She followed his path deep into the woods until she came upon an old bunker, hidden under moss and vines, forgotten by time. Her heart began to beat faster. She had been here before. Years ago, she was part of a secret mission. They had stormed this place, killed everyone, burned the data, sealed the doors. So why was it open now? She stepped inside. The lights flickered weakly. Her boots echoed down the hallway. Then she found it. A chamber, glass tubes, medical beds, cryopods cracked open. In the center, a photo. A younger Reese, surrounded by others just like him. Soldiers rebuilt with nanites, coded to regenerate, rewired to never die. Death was just a delay, the text read beneath the image. For the Earth must never lose its champions. Kalyra stepped back. She realized something terrifying. Reese was not just a man. He was a weapon designed to outlive every war. And the worst part? He didn't know it. Outside, Reese stumbled through the trees, drawn by a feeling he couldn't explain. His hands shook, his chest burned. The memories were becoming clearer now. He remembered being called back after death, again and again. Each time a little more of him disappeared, a little more replaced. He wasn't sure what was real anymore. Suddenly he saw a flash, Kalira standing at the entrance of the bunker. She turned and saw him, their eyes locked, but this time neither raised a weapon. "Now you understand," she said softly. "You are not alive. You are repeating." Reese stepped forward slowly. "Why me?" Kalira looked at him with something close to pity. "Because you were the first one they couldn't control." Reese stared at the bunker behind her. "What did they turn me into?" She whispered. "A shadow of the forgotten war." The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Reese Vale felt the silence like a weight pressing against his skin. The trees around him stood still, as if holding their breath. Every leaf, every branch, waiting for something. His boots were heavy with mud, his mind heavy with fear. He had just seen his own face in a photo dated 70 years ago. And now, the woman who had killed him 10 times was no longer trying to kill him. She was watching him like a scientist watches a strange, dangerous creature. "Why are you helping me?" he asked her. Kalira leaned against the cold bunker wall. "I'm not helping you, human. I'm just not stopping you anymore." Reese gave her a long look. "That's something, I guess." Elsewhere, deep beneath the surface of a forgotten planet, an ancient system reactivated. Metal doors creaked open, blue lights flickered alive in long-dead machines, and a voice, calm, mechanical, emotionless, whispered through the silence. Subject: Reese Vale. Protocol 11 engaged. Resurrection threshold exceeded. Host stabilization required. Initiating recall. In the forest, Reese froze. His chest suddenly burned, sharp electric pain spreading through his body. He fell to one knee, clutching his ribs. Kalira rushed forward, blade in hand, unsure if he was dying or transforming. Then his eyes rolled back. He collapsed. Dead. Again. Kalira stood over him, silent. "No blood. No wound," she whispered. She waited. A minute passed, then 2. But this time, he didn't wake up. She didn't know why it frightened her. She knelt beside his still body. The skin was cold, but she noticed something strange. A faint pulse in his neck, not from blood, but from energy. His body was being pulled somewhere. Kalira looked around. Then she noticed the ground beneath him. Dirt lightly shifting. The grass curling in odd patterns, as if something under the earth was calling to him. Without warning, the ground beneath Reese opened. A smooth black platform rose from below, lifting his body gently into the air. Kalira drew her blade, tense and alert, but no enemies came. Just a voice. Project Revenant. Subject 001. Return complete. The platform began sinking again. Taking Reese with it, Kalira leapt onto it without thinking, and then they vanished underground. The light inside the hidden chamber was dim, glowing from ancient walls. Reese lay on a metal slab, wires attaching themselves to his chest, arms, and head. Kalira stood still, surrounded by unknown tech, weapons locked on her from above, but none fired. Then, from every wall, a hologram of a face appeared, calm, male, and human. "Welcome back, Subject 01. Kalira stepped forward. "He's not your weapon anymore." The AI ignored her. Subject death count 11. Emotional stress, rising. Memory integrity, collapsing. Kalira's eyes narrowed. "You're killing him." Correction. "We are preserving him." The subject cannot be allowed to expire permanently. Earth's survival depends on him. Meanwhile, inside his own mind, Reese floated in darkness. He saw flashes of past lives, falling from ships, bleeding in trenches, exploding in fires. Each time he woke up again. Each time, more of him was gone. A voice echoed in the void. "You were meant to win wars, not ask questions," he whispered back. "I never wanted this. But you were built for it." He saw Kalira's face then. Not angry, not cold, just watching, waiting. Something in her eyes had changed. Back in the chamber, Rhys suddenly gasped and sat up. His eyes were glowing faintly now, silver like Kalira's. Kalira stepped toward him. "Do you know who you are?" He looked at her. "No, but I know what I'm not. I'm not yours, not theirs. I'm not a weapon anymore." The voice from the wall spoke again. "Subject rebellion detected. Emergency protocol. Terminate external. Influence." Kalira looked up as turrets unfolded from the ceiling. She grabbed Rhys and shouted, "Run!" They ran through the ancient corridor, dodging the turret fire. Rhys barely felt pain, his body already starting to heal on its own. But he could feel something else now, a presence inside him, something watching, something waiting. They escaped through an old tunnel that burst out into a deep valley. They rolled down a hill, both covered in dirt, breathless. Kalira looked at him. "You died again, and still you returned." Rhys stared at the stars above. "This time," he said, "I think I brought something back with me." Kalira didn't ask what. She could see it in his eyes. The valley was quiet but not peaceful. Rhys Vale sat with his back against a stone wall, breathing heavily. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from something new inside him. Kalira paced nearby. Her silver eyes never left him. He had died 11 times, and come back 11 times. But this time, something was different. She could see it in the way he moved, in the way he stared into nothing. He wasn't just Rhys anymore. Kalira sharpened her blade slowly, not looking at him. "You brought something back with you," she said, voice calm but cold. "What is it?" Rhys looked at his hands. They felt stronger, warmer, yet he couldn't explain what was happening. "I don't know," he answered. "But it's like something woke up inside me, something old, not mine." She walked over and knelt in front of him. "Does it speak to you?" Rhys met her gaze. "Not with words. It watches, waits, it feels hungry." Kalira's grip on her blade tightened. "That's not normal, even for a revenant." Rhys gave a broken smile. "I was never normal." Far above them, in the hidden orbit of the planet, a dark ship powered up. Inside, holographic figures flickered. Leaders of the Galactic Oversight Council. One said, "The Revenant has activated." Another answered, "Impossible. That line was purged." "Not all of it," the third said. "Subject 001 survived, and worse, he's off script." A command was given, "Send the black drones. Make sure this time he does not come back." Back in the valley, Rhys and Kalira began walking toward the ruins of an old Terran outpost. Rhys wanted answers. He wanted to know why he was chosen, why he survived, why death refused to hold him. As they moved, Kalira kept watching him from the corner of her eye. The human she once hunted now walked like a shadow, like something not fully alive. Or fully dead. "I've seen many soldiers," she said, voice low, "but never one who dies so many times and still walks." Rhys gave a bitter laugh. "And I've seen killers, but never one who asks questions." They both stopped walking. The tension between them was sharp, but no longer hateful, just heavy. Kalira finally asked, "Do you feel pain?" Rhys answered without thinking, "Only when I remember who I was." They reached the ruins by nightfall. Old metal towers stood like skeletons. Banners once holding Earth's flags were now torn and blackened. Kalira searched the perimeter. Rhys explored inside. He entered what once was a command chamber. Flickering monitors came to life at his touch. And then, a voice spoke again. But this time, not from outside, from inside his own mind. "You're awake now, Reese." He froze. "Who's there?" "I am you. The version they buried, the weapon they built, the truth they feared." Reese grabbed his head in pain. Flashes filled his eyes, memories not his own, 100 lifetimes, 1,000 battles, some on planets he had never seen. Kalira rushed inside. "What's happening?" Reese turned to her, his voice deeper, darker. "I remember everything." Outside, the skies turned red. A fleet of black drones, silent machines of death, descended from orbit like falling knives. Their mission: kill Subject 001. Burn the rest. Kalira heard the rumble. She stepped outside and saw the sky glowing. She cursed under her breath. "They're here for you." Reese followed, but this time there was no fear in his face. Just calm. "They're too late," he said softly. "I'm already something else." The first drone landed with a crash. Then, another. Then 5 more. Kalira raised her blade. Reese didn't raise anything. He walked toward them. The drones scanned him. Life form detected, threat level unknown. Then suddenly, every drone froze. Reese's eyes glowed brighter and he whispered, "Deactivate." They Drones obeyed. Kalira gasped. "How?" Reese looked at his hand. "I think I'm linked. The command code is in my blood." The drones turned and killed themselves one by one, exploding into pieces. Kalira stared in awe. "You're not a soldier anymore." Reese turned to her, voice barely human. "No, I'm becoming what they feared." That night they sat in the cold ruins. The fire crackled quietly. Kalira finally broke the silence. "I was sent to kill you," Reese nodded. "And now?" "I'm not sure," she said. "You died, but the part that came back, it's not weak. It's not lost. It's not human either." Reese whispered, "Maybe I was never meant to be." They both looked into the flames. The hunter had turned, and the hunted had become something far more dangerous. The night wind howled through the ruins. Reese sat on a broken wall staring into the darkness. His breathing was slow, almost too calm. Not long ago he had feared death. Now, he feared what was inside him. Kalira sharpened her blade beside the fire, but her eyes often drifted back to him. He hadn't spoken for an hour, not since he shut down the black drones with only a whisper. Finally, she said, "You didn't kill them with strength. You commanded them." Reese didn't look at her. "I don't even remember how I knew the words." "Something is unlocking in you," Kalira said. "And it's not natural." Reese looked up at the stars. "They built me for war," he said. "But I think they hid something deeper, something even they didn't understand." As dawn crept in, they left the ruins and followed an old path into the mountains. According to Kalira's map, there was one place left, a site wiped from all records. Site 73, the final lab of Project Revenant. Reese felt it before they even arrived. His body began to burn. His skin pulsed. His mind echoed with voices, memories, commands, pain. They reached a cracked stone gate halfway up a cliff. Carved into the rock in old Terran script were the words, "Bury the future, burn the past." Kalira ran her hand over the writing. "Was here once," she whispered. "Long ago. I didn't know what they were hiding." They stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and silence. Broken machines lined the walls. Frozen corpses still sat at their terminals, untouched for decades. In the heart of the lab was a large glass cylinder. Inside it, a skeleton, but not human. It was bigger, taller. Its skull had ridges. Its ribs were armored. Kalira's eyes went wide. "That's not from your species." Reese stepped forward, as if in a trance. He placed his hand on the glass. Suddenly, the lights came on. The computer buzzed. A voice spoke from the speakers. Welcome, Subject 001. Last note of the Revenant line. Hybrid protocol. Confirmed. Kaylira drew her blade. Hybrid? What does that mean? Reese stepped back, shaking his head. The screen showed a report: genetic source 50% human, 50% unknown xeno-origin. Subject? Reese Vale. Status: active. Kaylira whispered, You're not just human. Reese couldn't speak. He stared at the screen, jaw tight. They had used alien DNA. They had built him with something ancient, something buried, something extinct or nearly extinct. Kaylira walked around the lab, examining records, old data cores, and memory units. Most were corrupted, but one video played. A younger Reese, strapped to a metal table. He screamed as dark fluid was injected into his veins. Scientists watched behind glass. One of them spoke. We extracted it from the last living specimen. This DNA is a weapon by itself. The host will be our blade. Kaylira's face turned pale. She whispered, You weren't a soldier. You were a test. Reese fell to his knees. He remembered now. Not all, but enough. He remembered the pain. The doctors who smiled as he screamed. The machine that mapped his memories, deleting some, rewriting others. The alien, a dying creature they found in the outer rim. It begged for peace. Instead, they tore it apart and put its blood into him. Kaylira touched his shoulder. It wasn't your choice. But Reese didn't answer, because something inside him had woken up fully now. He could feel it moving in his blood. Not a monster, a mind, not angry, not cruel, but watchful. It had no name, but it had purpose. It whispered, They feared us. Now they'll remember why. Suddenly the lab shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Kaylira snapped around, blade drawn. We're not alone. A voice echoed down the corridor. Subject 01, termination required. Step away from the hybrid body. Dozens of heavily armed soldiers marched in. Black armor, no insignia. But Reese could see the truth. These were not soldiers. These were cleaners, sent to erase mistakes. Reese stood, his voice was calm. Let me guess, no one leaves alive? The commander nodded. Orders are clear. Kaylira stepped beside him. I'm not following your orders. Reese's eyes glowed faintly. Neither am I. What happened next was fast. The air cracked with light. The soldiers opened fire. Kaylira moved like a blade in the wind, cutting them down. Reese didn't fight like a man anymore. He didn't need a weapon. With a glance, he shut down the lights. With a breath, he crushed their rifles. With a whisper, he froze them in place. Kaylira watched in awe. This wasn't science. It was something else. Something older than war. When the dust cleared, the room was quiet. Reese stood in the center, glowing, faintly. His voice was not loud, but it echoed through the chamber. I'm not their soldier. I'm not their mistake. He turned to Kaylira. I'm what they buried in bone. The lab was in ruins. Smoke curled through shattered corridors. Sparks hissed from torn wires. Bodies of the elite soldiers lay silent on the floor, some frozen, others shattered. None touched Reese Vale. He stood in the center of the destruction, his skin faintly glowing with a silver pulse. His breathing was calm, his heart barely beating. Not from weakness, but from evolution. Kaylira leaned against a wall, blood dripping from a cut on her brow, eyes locked on him. You could have destroyed me too, she said softly. Reese looked at her. I didn't want to. She wiped her blade, clean. That's the difference between us. I was made to kill. You were made to rise. Outside, storm clouds gathered again. But this time, it wasn't just weather. Above the sky, a stealth-class capital ship broke orbit. Its mission was clear. Terminate Subject 001. Cleanse Site 73. Leave no witnesses. Aboard the ship, the final directive was activated. Begin planetary strike in T-minus 10 minutes. Back underground, Kalira moved through the final chamber, searching for an exit. Rhys remained still. He wasn't trapped. He was thinking. He could feel the entity inside him. Not a parasite, not a machine. Something ancient. Something once hunted to extinction. Something that had survived by hiding in him. You were never supposed to last this long, the voice whispered in his mind. But now, you can become what they feared most. Rhys whispered back, "What if I don't want to be feared?" The voice was quiet, then replied, "Then die, just once, for real." He felt it clearly now. His body wasn't meant to keep going. Every resurrection tore away a piece of his soul. Every revival came with a cost. He was running out of himself. Kalira found a terminal with an access map. "There's a tunnel that leads to the surface, but it's collapsing." She turned and saw Rhys staring blankly at the old hybrid tank. "You're not okay," she said. He looked at her, eyes calm. "I've lived too many lives, and I don't know which one is mine anymore." Kalira stepped closer. "So, what, now?" Rhys touched the tank one last time. "I shut it down." Suddenly sirens howled through the lab. A red light flashed. Kalira checked the terminal. Her face turned pale. Orbital strike. "They're going to erase the entire mountain." She grabbed Rhys's arm. "We need to go. Now!" But Rhys didn't move. "I can stop it," he said. "If I link fully. If I give it control." Kalira shook her head. "No. That thing inside. It's not just power, it's rage. If you give in, you may never come back." He looked at her gently. "And if I don't, we both die." Kalira stared at him. For the first time, her voice cracked. "I don't want you to die. Not again. Not like this." Rhys smiled. "Maybe death must come once, to end what they started." He stepped toward the old mainframe. She grabbed his wrist. "Please." He looked down at her hand. "Thank you for seeing me, not as a weapon." Then he placed his hand on the core. The system flared. Rhys's body convulsed. Energy surged through him, the alien blood, the human will, the broken memories, all merged. His scream shook the walls. Outside, the orbital cannon began charging. Inside the chamber, Rhys saw it all. Every file, every lie, every experiment. He could see the council that made him. He could see the virus they buried. He could see the truth. He wasn't the only one. There were others, scattered across systems. Shut down. Sleeping, and the entity in him, its final purpose wasn't war. It was revenge. Kalira shouted through the fire and sparks. "Rhys, you don't have to do this." Rhys turned slowly, now glowing with pure white light. "I'm not doing this for them." His voice was layered, part human, part something else. "I'm doing it for me." He raised one hand. The strike, cannon targeting system received a new signal. Override code. All lights went dead. In orbit, the cannon shut down. The command bridge flickered, then exploded. Back on the ground, the mountain groaned and cracked. The mainframe inside Site 73 collapsed. Rhys dropped to one knee, steam rising from his skin. His glow faded. Kalira ran to him. He looked up at her, with normal eyes. Blue. Human. He was himself again. But she knew, this time. It was real. She held him as he collapsed in her arms. "No more dying," she whispered. And for the first time since their paths crossed, he didn't come back. The sky over the mountain was still. No fire. No strike from the stars. Just silence. Kalira sat by the broken rocks, her black armor chipped, her blade resting across her lap. In her arms lay the body of Rhys Vale, still and cold. He didn't open his eyes, he didn't breathe again, and this time she knew he was truly gone. She should have left. That was the assassin's way. Complete the task. Vanish like a shadow. But she stayed. For hours. because something inside her felt unfinished. Reese wasn't just a mission anymore. He had become something else, a ghost that refused to stay dead until he chose peace. Night came. She built a fire with broken wires and old fuel rods. Not for warmth, for memory. She placed Reese's body beside it, wrapped in the dark cloak he always wore. His face looked calm, as if, after all the pain, he had finally rested. But the silence didn't last. From behind her, a soft whir of movement. A figure stepped out of the shadows, not a soldier, not a drone, a child, human-looking, maybe 10 years old, but with glowing silver eyes, just like Reese once had. Kalira rose slowly, blade ready. The child didn't flinch. "I followed the signal," the child said. "The one he sent before the end." Kalira's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" "I don't know yet," the child answered. "But he called me brother." Kalira's heart stopped. She scanned the boy. The DNA matched, slightly altered, but clear. Another revenant, another secret buried by Earth's lost past. "Are there more like you?" she asked. The boy nodded. "Sleeping. Hidden. But he woke me." "Why?" The boy stepped closer to Reese's body. Because he didn't want to be alone anymore. Kalira knelt beside the boy. She looked at Reese again. Then, at the child she had hunted many people, but never once had she protected anyone. Until now. "Your name?" she asked. The boy blinked. "I don't have one." She thought for a moment, then whispered, "Vale. Your name is Vale. You carry it now." They buried Reese in a quiet spot beneath the cliff. No weapons, no tombstone, just a tree planted beside. The grave, a small one growing under alien stars. Kalira spoke only 5 words. "You were never a mistake." Years passed. Kalira left the blade behind. She took the child and vanished into the deeper systems. Word spread of an assassin who no longer killed, of a human child who could speak to machines with his mind. And somewhere, in the silence of long dead, more pods began to blink green. Reese had triggered something, not a war, not a rebellion, but a beginning. One quiet evening, Kalira and young Vale stood at the edge of a desert planet. He looked up at her, curious. "Do you think he's really gone?" She didn't answer at first, then said, "Maybe, but ghosts don't always stay in graves." The boy smiled. "Will he come back?" Kalira placed a hand on his shoulder. "If he does, I'll be ready." Far, across the galaxy on a forgotten moon, a metal door creaked open. Inside, the lights flickered. A boot stepped forward, a hand pressed to a wall, and a whisper echoed in the dark. "One more life. Just one."